Hello, friends. Welcome to the homestead and another episode. Today, we are going to take some wood and we're going to turn it into things. Stick around, this is going to be a very good episode. So, today, we are going to build a. It's not a dresser, but what is it, Miss DIY?
It is a storage unit.
An
for
open dresser.
clothing, a cabinet, if you will.
So, we're going to go to our local blue store to purchase the very unconventional material we plan to use for this project, and we are going to be back with you. This is how all projects start. So we are loaded up and we hope to turn this into furniture. We'll see. One of the downsides of having a small shop in the winter is that we have to take things out for us to be in the shop and be warm and working. So just a little fun fact. So today we're going to show you how to build this nice piece of furniture. It can be a bookcase. In our case, it's going to be a...
Open storage
Well, it's not
space.
storage. We're going to put clothes. Not storage. Really.
Open dresser.
An open dresser. Modern, but yet not modern looking piece of furniture. We're going to show you everything we did on the way, our challenges, tips and tricks. So stick around. This is going to be a fun episode. So today we're going to do something that we learned the hard way many times, right? And it is the exception to do not measure. We're going to measure today. But what we're going to measure is the length of our boards, because in the past we have been beat by these, right?
So in other words, we're expecting 8-foot boards at 96 inches, and now
Right.
how much are they actually?
8 feet. So we are right at 8 feet.
You want to move the... Okay, there we go.
Maybe slightly less. No, I think we're right at 8 feet.
We're-
Okay,
We're slightly under.
and we're going to measure all our boards so we can set up our cutting.
Okay.
We're going to spare you this fun activity. We're going to do
Are
it
you
off camera.
sure?
Yes.
They don't need to see us measuring all of these boards?
No,
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
So, you might be seeing something a little unusual about our show here, right?
Mhm.
And what it is that we actually don't have the guard because we broke it during a build we did before. It is not recommended you use this, especially if you don't feel comfortable with it. For example, Mrs. DIY does not feel comfortable to do this, right? And so we're not doing it with her. Excellent. Here I'm going to demonstrate how to remove the tank from the tank and groove board, and then remove that groove in one piece, this tank in one piece, and insert it back in the groove so you have a nice flush area. Since this is going to be a piece of furniture, we want it to look like a piece of furniture. We do not want the groove to show. This way we use all our material and we get a much more finished look. While the table saw is the best tool to use for this specific process, a handsaw, especially a Japanese handsaw, can also achieve it, but it will take you substantially longer time than we saw you here. And the idea is that we're putting the offcut here,
In the groove
in the groove.
of another board.
Needs to come down a hair then. Okay, well,
What?
just was telling you it was even.
Okay.
And that gives the board a finished
And
look.
now we ungrooved it.
Ungrooved it.
Is it grooved like sweetened and unsweetened?
Yeah.
We are assembling the sides and what in essence will be the back, correct?
Yep.
And a couple of points here. These boards have different sides. One is grooved, the other is flat. So whatever you want makes no difference, but make sure that you have the same boards on the same side, right?
Right.
Like here, they're all flush.
Right.
That is point number one. Point number two, if you want the finished edge, as you can see here, we saw you a moment ago how to cut the groove off, not the groove, the tongue off, and then you just put it in the groove and you have a board that's more.
Right. So essentially, you take the tongue off of one side of a board. So this is now a flush cut here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take that tongue that you cut off there and it goes here and it fills in. And so it makes it a much more flat surface instead of having that groove. All right, so we are once again going to insert this tongue into the groove to fill the space. And this particular tongue actually came apart in 3 pieces while we were cutting it, and it's only because it has knots at those sections, and so those knots just kind of came apart. But it does not affect the usability of these pieces because you're going to put them in. And so right here, as a for instance, this is one part that it came apart, but you can't even tell once it's put back in. And so now we have that last piece that's going to go in to this groove. It's just like a pieces of a puzzle. Just going to tap right in there. Oops, sorry. Let's pull it out a little bit. There we go. And we're just using a very soft mallet to tap things into place. Again, as you can see, this all came together. You can't even see that it was separated there, and this little void is really just typical of knots, but again, you can't see where it came apart. And now it has filled that space very nicely. Okay, now we're cutting some side support braces. We've set a stop to the correct length, and we're just using that to make this process go fast.
That we cannot get the piece out of.
We can't?
No.
Oh, it's a little short. Yep, there we go. Okay, good thing we've got more pieces in the back. We're bringing it out from the stock room.
The stock room.
The stock room.
Because we have such a huge operation here.
I'm going to show you guys what the stock room is. Right here, stock room.
How did we achieve this? This is perfect. We don't have any
We're
space.
that good.
We are that good.
I need to show that.
It's exactly 8 feet from there to our stop. We're good.
We'd love to say we planned this, but we didn't. And apparently new blades cut much better than 10-year-old blades.
Yes, we have once again installed a blade. This one brand new in the sealed packaging. And as you saw for this cut, because we don't want to tear up these smaller boards, we want to make sure that we release the trigger and do not.
You can continue talking.
Yeah.
I take it off.
Okay. And we do not pull the blade up until the blade has stopped moving, because that keeps the cut really clean. And so we've got just a few more to cut, and then we'll come back around to you. And now we've got all 10 side support pieces. And I think our next step is are we going to cut the longer, or we're going to start attaching them to our sides to get them in the right spot? Okay, cool.
So we have the side piece of the frame that's going to hold this cabinet together, and it's to the right dimension, and we want to attach it. So we're going to slide it under here. This is the face, or I should say this is the side, and this is the outside of the cabinet. And so we want to line it up here before we attach it, and we want to get it in just the right orientation, front to back. And so we're using a cutoff here as just a spacer so that we can make sure we have enough room.
And because this is the side, this little end piece is representative of the front piece that will go this way for it. So that's what we're using.
So once that's there, we're going to go ahead and attach this.
But to ensure we don't split the wood, we are going to use pilot holes, and to ensure that we have our pilot holes in alignment, we're also going to make a jig for this. So this top piece here is a scrap wood that we're using to make a jig.
I will make marks first.
We're going to mark it with a nice little Sharpie to get the
Where do you want
spacing,
the screws? Where do you
spacing that we want. It looks like we're essentially going to put one screw per what looks to be a panel, even though this board is double wide because this is the tongue and groove. But that will make it look nice and even. And now we're going to use that drill bit to make those pilot holes. And we'll keep doing that, and then we will come back and show you some assembly. So we've got our support lined up here. We've got it flush with the top because this is going to be the top of the unit. And we had it clamped down so it doesn't move. And that should have us all in a correct alignment for this piece.
Utilizing pilot holes does not eliminate but greatly reduces the chance that you are going to split your wood. Since this is going to be furniture showing in someone's bedroom, we want that to happen.
Okay, so for the interior supports or the middle supports of this, we're actually screwing them on from the inside. So that's why you can see these screws here and not the ones at the top. And we did create story sticks.
We're using the same end piece here to make the space for the cross piece.
Right.
So we're using that as a story stick here so we know exactly how close to the edge this piece needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're using these story sticks to keep these sections the same distance apart.
And these are what are going to be the shelf supports.
These.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I'm just drilling some holes, not pre-drilling,
Right.
because that would be wrong.
Right. We're just drilling. I don't know how you drill before you drill. And again, this is just to make sure that the smaller pieces of wood do not potentially split on us. And while this is the middle, the inside won't be visible, we're still trying to keep it as nice as possible.
These splits are structural in two different ways. First of all, they keep the tongue and groove pieces together and tight, making sure that they will never come apart, and also they are part of the carcass. They provide the strength needed to keep the whole piece of furniture together. So taking your time here, using good quality screws is rather important. If you don't want to use screws, you can use dowels. I would not use nails unless that's something of an aesthetic you're going for. Other than that, these are very important pieces for this build.
Now all of the supports for this one side are complete, and we will move on to the next side.
So we put the two sides. This is our back.
Mm-hmm.
We put the two sides on it and we mark the location of our supports everywhere we have them.
There, and on the opposite side.
Then we created a story stick, the distance between the two points, because that's the distance of the piece we're going to need to bridge all this, right?
Right, so we're going to cut pieces this length, and we're going to need 5 of them.
Right.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And again, this is the back, so these back pieces will be the ones that go as the back support shelf.
All right, so we're going to check really quickly that the story stick gives us the same dimension in all of them, just to ensure we don't need to cut different dimensions.
That one's lined up pretty well.
Yep.
Okay.
And last but not least,
Okay, yeah, that can be good.
all right. So now we're going to use our story stick, or we're going to set a block, and we're going to cut the 5 pieces that dimension. We're going to use pocket holes for the, I don't know what you call those beams.
So the shelf supports that are going to go horizontally on the back are going to connect vertically in this orientation on either side. And to do that, we're using pocket holes and pocket hole screws. And so essentially on this end and that end, for each one of the supports, we're doing a pocket hole.
And again, the key here on pocket holes is you always do them on the same side of the board, right?
Make
If
sure
you do
you're on the
one
same
there
side.
and one the other, it will not work.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
And so we have 4 more of those to do, and we'll come back and show you how things are coming together. So to start attaching our back supports, we are putting them in alignment with the marks that we had made previously in front and back, and then doing the
edge.
and this is the top, so it'll be at the edge, and then also doing the drilling the holes so that the screws can go in just like we did for the other sides, and we just got a couple more screws to put in there. And it's a little far away. Sorry for the earthquake there. And again, we're going to repeat that procedure, lining them up with the marks on either
Go on the
side.
other side first. Go on the edge first.
The end, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start at the end. Line that up, clamp it in place. We'll do the holes with the drill bit again to make sure that our wood doesn't split, and install this one as well. So this is the final support for the back of this storage piece. And is our next step to attach both of the sides, and then we'll work on the front cross pieces for the shelves? Okay. Yeah. So that is the next, and this is the top at that end. This is going to be the bottom. And they're all very secure. This also makes all the backing boards very secure. They're not going to come apart at all. So now we're doing the Craig screws for the first side. And that's a very secure connection on all 5 of these.
Well, we need to gently rotate it now.
Okay, so we have our front cross supports. We have our front cross supports done, and we're using a brad nailer to put these in place.
Primarily because we're going to stain this piece. When we stain it, it will be much less visible than screws or anything else. Okay.
But you can now see the frame of how this is coming together, and also on the inside you'll see each one coming together.
You can build the frame first, but that can be frustrating because this lumber is not very precise, so you might be a little short or a little long. Doing it the way we show you ensures you can adapt the frame to your lumber.
So the carcass is finished, and as you can see, we just need to put the bottom, the top, and the shelves in it, and it is becoming a substantial piece of furniture.
Pretty darn substantial, yeah.
Quite bigger than we envisioned, I think. Alright, so now we're going to work on the top.
Okay, so we've got the first 3 boards fitted for our shelf down here in the bottom. We're just going to tack those in with a few brad nails so they stay in place.
Brad nailing is not a requirement. However, it does add a little bit of strength and prevents the shelves from falling over when you try to move the piece. So I think it's a good idea, and if you don't have a brad nailer, you can use some finished nailer to fill-in nails to achieve the same result. Again, when we show you things here, there is more than a way to do it, and a lot of things is personal preference.
So we're moving along, as you can see. 3 of our shelves are done, and in typical fashion we ran out of material, so we need to make a run to our store to get some more. So we are about finished with the build, and as you can see, we've put it all together. It has the number of shelves we wanted, it has the look we wanted, and the only change we're making is on the top. We're using a board that we had, and the only reason we're doing that is because the store had run out of straight boards, so we could not get enough material to make the top identical. But we think this will look equally good.
Yeah.
But this is in essence the finished product.
I think it's turned out really, really well. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is it what you envisioned?
Yep.
So a little bit of sanding will give this old piece of wood, this offcut, a new life.
Especially when staining, sanding is a very important part of the process. You do not want the pieces to look very different, and unless you are in raw wood, the stain will not take correctly. So what we're showing you here is how we can combine two different pieces of wood, two different species of wood, but the end result looking very similar visually. In other words, the stain will take the same. Now, the only important thing is that both are white types of wood. In other words, you cannot use a cherry and a pine. But as long as you use two species that have the same color to start with, your result, and you're going to see it here when we finish staining, will be the same.
Okay, so we're working on getting this thing stained up now that all the pieces are put in. And again, we used a piece of wood that we had around the shop because we ran out of boards that were straight. And you can see how this is coming along. That stain just really brings out some beautiful grain there. So we'll work on that and then come back and show you what it looks like. So the top is all stained and you can see how beautiful that wood grain is, what it's showing up like. And again, this is just a piece of wood that we have in the shop, so it's not the same variety of wood as the rest of it, but it's still coming along pretty nicely. And it's going to look really great when it's all finished. There we go. I cleaned the lens a little bit. There we go. You can see that color.
So as always, how much something like that will cost you? We'll give us our cost, but based on where you live and what wood you're going to use, it might cost you more or it might cost you less, right? We spent about $120, and the only piece of wood that we used that we had was the top. Everything else, but you can buy enough wood to do this project for that money. The issue we had, I guess, is that the wood was not straight. We had a lot of, even though we spent time and we tried to get the most straight boards we could buy, we still had a lot of boards that they were not straight. So the sun has been long set and we are still here in the shop working. But the good news is we are done.
Yay!
This is our product for today, and we built that for our son, so we're going to have to deliver it. We're not going to show it to you where in its final place because it's not going to be in our homestead. We're going to take it to him tomorrow probably. Now, this took longer than we anticipated, right? And a big part of that was the staining. You do not have to stain it, of course. Another part was we had to go to the store a couple of times. And another part was, I don't know what other delays we experienced.
Heating the shop because it is a very cold day.
Well, we have, the heat is on.
The buddy, it actually did a really good job of warming the air in here so that we could have a comfortable workspace.
Yep. So what are lessons learned?
Enough wood.
And allow more time than you really think it's going to need it.
And I mean, we experienced it before, but this time we didn't make the mistake. The boards are not the exact dimension.
Right.
And we start the video by measuring it, but still worth reiterating because in the past that has beat us, right? Mm-hmm. Today we were ahead of it, but still a good point to remember. So even this looks like a bookcase, we did not build it to be a bookcase. And you could buy one of those cloth drawers, what you call them, the cube.
With storage bins.
And you can use it for a lot of different things, display, storage. Definitely you can use it as a bookcase. The intended purpose was to go to a young man's apartment and be used to organize his clothes, because young people do not like
Hanging.
not hanging the other thing with the drawers anymore. The
Dressers.
anymore. But I told you that you can do anything you want with what you want. We chose this specific wood, but you can use plywood, you can use cider board, you can use any wood you want.
Cider board?
Yeah, cider.
Cedar.
Cider. Cider? So it's the season for cider.
It is.
So, how complex this project was, ladies? Beginner, intermediate, or advanced?
Intermediate.
Okay, I think with basic tools you can do it. Actually, we didn't use many tools today. Unlike some of the other projects that we brought every tool in the shop out, you can really do that with a saw, any type of saw really. It doesn't have a lot of complicated cut, but it takes a lot of time. You have to take care that your measurements are correct and things square.
So I think as far as measurements and squaring, the basic saw would work. The only thing that I would say was a little more complex was cutting the tongue off of those boards.
And that is not necessary.
Right, it's not necessary. It's just something we did for this project to make it more clean, but that did require the table saw to make it
Well, you could technically do it with a chisel.
a chisel or even like a Japanese saw, right?
Right, yeah.
Right,
We just did it the fast way,
right.
the cheating ways. Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, we'll appreciate the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know, did you enjoy this episode? Do you want to see more episodes like this? From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Elpida, let's build something together.